Welcome back to the Marianne Hickman Show. This is talk tip number 34. Should you read your online comments? Check it out. So if you've been hanging around in my universe long enough, you know that there are 4 different kinds of stages. There's the stages that you own and the stages that other people own. And then there's the physical version of each one of those and the digital version of each one of those. So let me just recap this for you. You've got your own digital stages, your own physical stages, and then other people have their own digital stages and their own physical stages. So when we show up on social media, when you create a YouTube video, you create an Instagram reel, when you create a TikTok reel, we'll see if that stuff gets banned. I don't know if that's going to even last or not, but maybe it's just creating hype for social media. Anytime that you show up digitally, like the way we're interacting together right now is a digital stage for me. When you produce a digital stage on your YouTube or whatever it is, that is a digital stage for you. What's cool about these is you can get engagement, you can get community response, you can learn a lot about your audience when you show up digitally. And you can learn a lot about people that are not your ideal audience. When I first started producing YouTube content years ago, in fact, if you go to my YouTube channel, if you're watching this on YouTube and you see some of my older thumbnails, you're going to see a version of Marianne that looks completely different than she did today. And I've learned some things. I've made progress in some things. So first lesson for you is to just start. Hit the record button, turn on the camera, and start producing content. Your first video is not going to be your best. Your 100th video will probably be 100 times better than your very, very first video. But you can't get to your 100th video unless you produce the first and publish the first and put it out there. If you go back on Gary Vee's timeline, you're going to see really old content that doesn't match who he is today because he's evolving and growing just like you and me. So first things first, put your content out there. Don't be afraid and don't judge yourself for it. Just put it out there. Press post, number 1. Number 2, you've heard this before. Don't read your online comments. Now, there's a reason that this is the case. Your online comments are going to come from the entire universe of people. Anyone that has access to your videos and has access to that comment button and can hide behind a keyboard can leave a comment on your stuff, which in some cases you may or may not want. But most of the time, I don't mind. But that wasn't always the case. When I first started putting content out there, I was not the most confident version of myself. In fact, I still have more confidence to grow. Anyone that has any accolades or any progress whatsoever that thinks they've arrived and they've made it and they have nothing left to improve on, I dare say that that's a load of hogwash. That's just not true. We all have places to improve. But I'm way more confident now than I was in my very first videos. When I was not prepared for my online comments, reading them was really hard for me. In fact, I wore my Taylor Swift lipstick for you today on purpose because a lot of the comments in the videos that I used to post would pick us apart. Your comments that are from strangers might be things like, your lashes are too long, or your lipstick is too red, or what do you think that blah, blah, blah. I don't believe you. And all of this crazy, crazy stuff from people that we don't even know. And they feel like they can pick us apart like they wouldn't do in person because there's a digital barrier between us and they can get away with more rude and harsh comments. If you're not prepared, meaning you're not confident enough in your own choices to stand behind your own choices, then your comments can seem really, really scary. However, there are pieces of gold in your comments from people that you may never meet, from people that who's thousands of miles away, who may never interface with you, but you're leaving value out in the world. And sometimes they'll be kind enough to drop a comment and leave that appreciation. So that's thing number 2. If you're confident in who you are and how you show up, then your comments shouldn't scare you. And I would actually say it's up to you whether or not you want to read them. I used to not read them because I wasn't confident in who I am. And now I read them and I'm like, cool. Pass. Most comments don't bother me. And then there are some gold nuggets in there. So I'm going to leave this with you as thing number 3. Show up as a member of the digital or physical audience like you want people to show up for you. Be the person that leaves positive comments for other people on their Instagram reels, on your TikToks, on your YouTube. If you like something and the creator's not reading the comments, it's only going to help them. The algorithm will love it if you're engaging with their content. So be a participating member of the audience like you would like to have in your show. That translates to in person too. When someone goes up and takes the stage as a volunteer, or maybe it's their turn, clap all the way until they get to the stage, because that's how you want people to show up for you. When you are a member of the audience in someone else's event, raise your hand and participate, be engaged. The bottom line is be the kind of consumer that you want to see in your content. And I'll leave you with this. I issued a challenge, and I've issued this challenge over and over again, and you feel free to take it. In fact, if you do, let me know in the comments below. Here's the challenge. Produce 50 live videos in 2 weeks. I have to tell you, it's not easy. I've done it before. I've done it a couple of times, actually. The last time it took me a little bit longer than 2 weeks to get the 50 pieces of content out, but that's not the point. The point is to put yourself out there so much and so often that you develop confidence in your message and you start to build your audience so that your audience knows, likes, and trusts you. If you take on this challenge, let me know in the comments below. I want to see if you're taking this on. But here's what I want you to get out of this. When you take this challenge to go 50 lives in 2 weeks, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn whether or not you should care about the audience's response. And there's a big difference. I want to address this. There's a big difference between not giving a flip what other people think versus losing complete compassion. When you say, I don't care what other people think, it can bring with it an inadvertent lack of compassion for other people, which is egotistical. It's full of I'm better than you and I don't give a flip. Versus I love myself so much that I put out content that I care about and that I'm passionate about, and I don't care about the negative responses because I'm so dedicated to the core of who I am. That is the authentic version of not caring what other people think. So that's the challenge for you. Put out some content. Irregardless of what other people may comment, if you have content that people are commenting positively on, that is a feather in the right direction for you. I say the feather in the right direction because that's my little totem for when I'm going the right direction. I see feathers everywhere. It's those of you that are in the woo-woo stuff, you're going to go crazy with that with me. But it is an indicator that you're going in the right direction. So watch for those. And just remember, there are people out there waiting for you to use your voice. There are people out there that you may never meet that are waiting for you to speak up. So get out there and make it happen. We'll see you in the next episode.
Marianne Hickman here again. Listen, I hope super helpful for you. Maybe you learned something new. Share with me in the comments what was valuable. Or if you have this whole separate question like, hey, I wanted to know about this. I wanted to know about stage fright. I want to know how about my presentation on stage. I want to know about how to dress on stage. Anything that you want to know that's relevant to growing your business through stages, put in the questions, because guess what? I go through and answer all of those personally. That's not an agency or a VA. That's me going through and looking at your questions because you are who I am here for. So last thing is I want you to get this database. If you haven't gotten it already, now I've got thousands of downloads on this thing, so maybe you've got it, but if not, make sure you go to mariannehickman.com/database. What that's going to do is take you to a page. You're going to input all of your information. We're going to send the database to you. You're going to request access to it. I keep it locked down so I can make sure I get it to just the right people. And you're going to request access. And then once you have that, you're going to go through and apply to podcasts that have the topic that you'd be an expert speaking on. Here's the thing. I get this database updated twice a week. So there's always new stuff in there. And if you're a podcaster, there's even a list of 400 plus guests that you can have on your show on that podcast. Maybe you end up doing a podcast swap and you grow your audience that way. Regardless, I want you to get it. So mariannehickman.com/database, and we'll see you in the next Talk Tips.